Today we're taking a look at the XG850 Plus Platinum rated ARGB Gaming Power Supply from Cooler Master. This is one of Cooler Master's newest in-house power supply designs for high-end gaming PCs. The XG Plus PSUs come in both traditional non-RGB and the ARGB type that I have here today. The XG Plus series lineup comes in 650 watt power supplies, 750 watt, and 850 watt varieties. Cooler Master sent over this XG850 Plus as well as the TD500 Mesh case, which I'll be building my 12th gen RTX gaming PC in today. All of the XG Plus PSUs are fully modular and they're all relatively quiet power supplies. The fan colors are fully controllable with the Cooler Master software, and of course you're getting the LED display which reads out power supply statistics such as full system load, the power supply temp sensor, and the PSU fan RPM. Let's take a quick look at what's included, the specs, and getting this whole system set up and tested. Included with the XG850, you're getting your standard ATX 24-pin main power harness, one 4+4 EPS cable, and one 8-pin EPS cable. You would use both of these if you had a higher-end motherboard or CPU combo. You're getting connectivity for up to 12 total SATA power connections, hard drives or RGB or whatever. You're also getting up to 4 4-pin Molex connections, and of course, the USB cable for controlling the ARGB fan inside of the PSU. The XG850 PSU weighs in around 7 pounds with the cabling, which is a little bit on the heavier side, but that's really not a bad thing for a power supply. The XG850 Plus measures in at about 160 millimeters long by 150 millimeters wide by 86 millimeters tall. So this is definitely a bigger PSU. Just keep in mind the dimensions when you're speccing out your case. Most cases will list a maximum PSU length. The TD500 Mesh that I'm using here, for example, had no issues accepting this power supply. The XG Plus PSUs feature a 135mm main fan for cooling the power supply. This fan typically operates under 20 dB, while the usage is under 50%. The fan will ramp up to about 25 dB worth of sound output if you're really loading up the system past 90% of its total output, or about 765 watts. Since this is a platinum rated power supply, typically you should be at or over 90% efficiency when measured at 20% output, 50% output, and 100% output. According to Cooler Master, this should be no issue for the majority of the output range, making this an ideal choice for a high-end gaming rig. The modular cables are all sheathed in that standard type of black plastic or rubber material that you're going to expect on a more premium power supply. All of the modular cables are flat as well, which is definitely helpful when it comes to building in your system. If you like this style of modular cabling, you probably won't need to spend extra money on PSU extension cables unless you really need RGB PSU extension cables. As for the Cooler Master software named Master Plus, you can create your own RGB lighting or use built-in profiles, as well as monitor the system power usage, PSU fan RPM, and the PSU internal temperature sensor. There was one item on the spec sheet relating to the temperatures that I did find interesting because typically most power supplies are only rated for the wattage on the label up to about 40 degrees Celsius. Whereas the XG850 Plus is rated for its power output up to 50 degrees Celsius. I don't know the specifics of what components or what quality of components allows for the increased temperature headroom, but it does seem to me that this PSU might be built a little bit better than your average unit, especially if it can handle a 25% increase in temperature at the same power load. In terms of the Cooler Master warranty, they are warranting this power supply for 10 whole years. That is quite a long warranty for a power supply. Typically, 10-year warranties on PSUs are reserved for only the better models. As far as working with the XG850 Plus, it was a breeze to get it installed into the TD500 Mesh case. The PSU is a little bit larger, but it's a platinum rated 850 watt unit after all. We should expect that. The flat modular cables made cable management even easier in this case, but it would lend itself to a case that had worse cable management too, if you couldn't get something like the TD500 Mesh. One thing to keep in mind with the ARGB versions of this power supply, the LED status panel is on the side of the power supply, so you're going to want to make sure that whatever case you purchase has the power supply cutout in the shroud so that you can actually see the LED status panel. Here in the TD500 Mesh, it does have that cutout and we can clearly read the LED status panel. Just something to think about, especially if you like to show off your computer at LAN parties. As far as the specs go, it's well positioned for high-end gaming PCs. The build quality was stellar, there were no defects or malformed connectors, everything was excellent as far as that all goes. The RGB status panel, if you're into that kind of thing, is pretty awesome. Right now, the model is going for about $260 on Amazon, and it is in stock when I make this video. The price point on this PSU is a little bit higher than average for a decent quality 850 watt unit, but you are getting features like the LED status panel, ARGB fan configuration, and a little bit higher of an operating temperature tolerance. So if you like the way that this power supply looks, this is definitely an awesome choice of power supply for a high-end gaming PC build.